Oops, thank you. I am muted. Thank you for letting me know that. Anyway, hello everyone. Um, I have a guest with me, and she is chasing justice. Um, I would just like everyone to listen to her story that she has to tell, and there will be no bullying, no disrespect, no trolling, nothing. I want it all gone. Everyone will give her full respect, and I would appreciate that. Thank you. And here she is. Hi, can you hear me? Chasing, are you here? Hello? Technical difficulties? Let me text her. Thank you, sweet Caroline. Chasing, where are you? Oh, she must have dropped. Um, we'll try again when she comes back. So I just got back from PT. Yeah, she got kicked or something. Um, I went to PT today, and he said my wrist is doing a whole lot better, and he's gonna actually start on my neck and my back. So I'm really excited about that. But she's coming back up. It'll just be a couple of minutes. Thank you to everyone who came in. Hey,
Hey, sorry, my dog is going to bark at me. So, how is everyone? Thank you for having me.
you're very welcome. Hey, Brenna. Hey, Eagle Chicks. Hey, everyone coming in. I'm sorry.
Hold on, I'm going to put my dog outside.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. To support me and to support Chasing Justice.
Yes, thank you all for being here. I thought it would be a good little break. Some of the things I'm going to talk about kind of goes hand in hand with what we've been seeing take place around YouTube. Because typically, when you're dealing with toxic people or people who take anger out on others, it's because they've come from a place of brokenness. It took me a lot of years to let go of that bitterness and resentment that I went through. I used to be an angry, angry person. And there's really no easy place for me to start. So I guess I'll just start at the very beginning. Um, I came from a traditional household. I was one of the few children in my class, like from elementary all the way up through high school, who still had both of my parents present in the home. Um, it was a loving home. However, I was one of two children. My brother was 7 years older than me, so there was a disconnect there. I mean, he was always the good kid. I was the rebellious one. And I was so rebellious because I was fighting for that attention. Now, that's not to say that they neglected me or they treated me poorly, because they didn't. They gave me everything they possibly could. There was always hugs and I love yous, and they were always there for me when I needed to talk about anything. I was the one who shut that door. And it started when I was 11 years old. Um, I lived in the type of neighborhood where they still had sidewalks on the streets, and all the kids from school lived in that general area. So I had a best friend who lived right down the street from me. It was commonplace for us to be, if I wasn't sleeping over at her house, she was sleeping over at mine. Well, she also had an older brother. And I was at a sleepover one night and I was asleep. She had bunk beds in her room. I was on the bottom, she was on the top. At some point during the night, something woke me up. I woke up and I opened my eyes, and her brother was standing at the end of the bed. And I mean, he was violating me. There's no way to sugarcoat it. He was touching me inappropriately. He didn't realize that I had woken up. I knew I needed to act fast, so I just moved my arm, and it was enough to make him kind of try to hide behind the post of the bunk bed. He heard a noise outside of the room or something, and he left. And when he did, I jumped up in the top bunk and I laid there wide awake the rest of the night. I didn't know what to do. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It's like, how do you call your parents at that time and say this just happened to me? That was a lot of emotion and feelings to deal with at that time. And I didn't say anything for a long time. And I know recently I've heard people tell their stories and they're like, well, I didn't say anything at first. And people question that. Like, how do you question a victim? We all tell our stories in our own time. So that was the first trauma I went through. And I went through a lot trying to work out how to deal with it, who I was. Did I cause that? Did I do something wrong? What was wrong with him to make him think that was okay? I tried to salvage that friendship, but it was never the same from that point forward. A lot less sleepovers at her house. I eventually did tell her, and she didn't believe me. And so that crushed me. So I didn't talk about it again until I was an adult. And the reason I talked about it again as an adult is right after high school, I got married. And it was a toxic relationship in high school. He was constantly cheating on me, just being horrible. I mean, he took some other girl to prom, and it was just awful. Well, for some reason, I thought getting married right out of high school would make it all better. Well, he was in the Navy and he was a raging alcoholic. And it was the most miserable 4 years of my life. I was belittled. I was controlled and criticized. I told that if I ever left him, I would just be a nobody and would never amount to anything because he was the best thing that ever happened to me, when in all actuality, he sent my world crashing down. He never hit me, but he did, in over a period of time, broke every piece of furniture we had in our house. He threw a whole rocking chair at me one time. I went to his superiors. They said we had to go to marriage counseling and all of that. But, when it came down to getting divorced, I basically just up and left. I left with nothing, moved back home with my family. I was depressed for a while, and I just went on a path of self destruction. I was in my early 20s. This was back when raves were all the rage. Everyone was going to raves. So I found myself in that circuit. I finally let one male into my life. He was my best friend. There was never anything more. I never thought that there would be anything more, but he just was really that source of strength for me. He would build me up and, just really encouraged me and was there for me through so many things. Well, I lived with three other people. We had all rented a house together, and all of my roommates were out one evening. I was in the shower, and it was common for us to leave our front door unlocked because people would just stop by all the time and hang out. I didn't think anything of it. I hopped in the shower. Well, he let himself in, and he basically came into the bathroom, and I don't know what was wrong with him. It was like a switch flipped, and he basically, to put it mildly, took what he wanted. Um, Throughout the process, I hit my head on the bathroom counter, and he left me laying there, bleeding from my head on the floor. And had my roommates not come home and found me, then I don't know if I would have made it or how much of me would actually be there. I had a concussion and just, I had lost a lot of blood. So that's two traumas that I've been through of that nature, plus the trauma of a broken marriage at 20. I was 23 when we divorced. Um, so how do you come back from that? When I finally got the strength to go to therapy, I was lucky. I only went through 4 therapists before I found one that would meet my needs and worked for me. And it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of determination. There were days that I wanted to give up, because I felt like I wasn't worth it. Like, these people thought so little of me that they could do these things to me. So, how could I convince myself that I was any better than that? And when you go through traumas like that, it's very typical to continue to put yourself in situations or form trauma bonds with people. And I'm not going to go into too much of what I'm going through now, but you guys, I'm going through one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through in my life right now. And I know what needs to be done. But there again, I have children. I feel trapped. But I'm going to get through it. I'm in school. I'm determined to graduate. For those of you that don't know, I'm in school as a criminal justice major. I'm going to specialize in medical legal death investigation, which basically means I'm going to assist the coroner on these scenes of unnatural deaths and basically get to the bottom of it. Now, how did I choose that? I chose that because 2 years ago, my husband's brother was walking home from the gas station that was right down the street from his house, and a 17-year-old drunk driver hit him and killed him right outside the entrance to his apartment complex. This 17-year-old had ties to our community. His grandparents owned an auto body shop that's been here for 30 plus years. Their shop is located right across the street from the small town police department. This kid was driving a brand new truck, fully decked out. He went home and went to sleep. When he got to his house, he told his mom and his grandfather that he thought he hit a sign. I don't know if you guys know anything about Louisiana, but any guy that drives a big fancy truck around Louisiana, especially a teenager, is going to stop right then and see what kind of damage was done. There's no signs around that apartment complex. We knew that he went home and went to sleep because he was drunk, and the window of opportunity for a BAC test, that was out the window. It was basically his word against ours. The police department did the best they could, and well, I'm not going to say that they did the best they could because they could have done more. However, that night that it happened, it was raining really hard. It was cold outside. It was at the beginning of March, so it was still pretty chilly here. They rushed through that scene. They just figured that my brother-in-law was walking in the middle of the street and it was just a tragic accident. I knew in my gut that that wasn't true. I knew it so well that for weeks I worked with the district attorney's office. I basically recreated the crime scene. I waited till there was a rainy night with the same conditions. I drove the path that he took in the same lighting. I mean, I did it all. I recorded everything on my phone. The kid walked away. When we went to court, we kept bringing up the fact that there were people that contacted me and said they had videos of him drinking and they knew he was drunk. Well, all of that is hearsay. The judge would not let us, it wasn't admissible in court. I made a conscious decision the day after it happened to forgive that kid. It took everything in me. as many problems as I've had with my husband, that was still his brother. They were Irish twins. They were a year and 8 days apart, and it devastated our family. Part of the hardest part about it was he had only been back home with us. He had his problems with addiction. So I'm no stranger to addiction either. I know all the signs and symbols. I know what to look for. I know the patterns. I know the behaviors and the habits and the manipulation that comes along with having a loved one addicted to any type of substance. Um, he, we finally got him into a good rehab in New Orleans, and he didn't stay the entire time. He ended up leaving, but he was determined to stay clean and sober. And so he made a choice. He didn't want to come home right away. What he chose to do instead is to live on the street among the people, and he was ministering to other people who were homeless or who had lost hope. He just felt like that was what he was called to do in that moment, and we didn't like it. We wanted him here, but we were supportive because we knew he was sober at that point. He had only been home 3 weeks to the day that he was killed, and there was a lady who came forward after she had seen a post I made on Facebook. And she contacted me and she said, "I saw your brother-in-law at the gas station that night. And what we saw him doing just kind of took our breath away. He spent his final moments sitting outside in the rain with his arm around probably about a 20-year-old kid who apparently was going through some stuff. And he prayed with him and, basically was telling him it was going to be okay. He had no idea that a few minutes later, he was going to lose his life. So that was the point that I decided I never wanted another family to go through what we went through. I want to fight for the victims. The cases I go for are not the cases that you hear about in the mainstream media. They're not current. They're older cases who either have gone cold or who never got justice. For those of you that don't know, I actually have a whole other channel called Crime Scene Uncovered, and that's where I talk about most of my cases. There is some on my Chasing Justice channel, but these families are desperate. And these families, a lot of the victims that I've covered have come from traumas similar to what I've gone through, because it's not only females who get taken advantage of, it happens to men more often than we realize. So when I see some of the things that have gone on recently, it really makes me take a step back and kind of pause. And, I'm a very critical thinker, I'm a logical thinker. I'm, I guess, nosy in a sense because I want to know why and how come about everything. I don't like to leave a stone unturned. I don't like to speak based on speculation or, you know, my opinions. It's strictly fact based. So when I see the attacks and, just the mudslinging and the constant back and forth, it's disheartening. It's enough to drive any sane person crazy. So, what are some steps of healing? The first thing is to recognize what the problem is. Is the problem them? Is the problem me? What have I done to cause the friction? What can I do to fix it? If we're constantly looking at other people to be the change and fix the problem, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. So you have to be the change that you want to see. When you see someone's hurting, don't beat them down. It's okay to not like someone. It's okay to not agree with them. It's okay if you want to go so far as to say you hate someone, although that is a strong emotion that I reserve for a very tiny amount of people. You really had to push me far to even make me angry. Um, Very few people have ever gotten me to say that I hate them. It all stems from somewhere. What are these people going through in their life that is making them unhappy? Because if it's just YouTube crap, turn it off. There's your solution. People will probably not let you know the extent of the pain that you're causing them, because we all want to be strong. We all want to be that hero. We all want to be the tough guy. Because if you show your weakness and your vulnerabilities, it's going to be 10 times harder for you. People are going to latch onto that and they're going to attack you even more. There are so many organizations out there. If you're in a situation where you feel like you're being emotionally abused, definitely if you're being physically abused, there's so many resources out there to help you get through it. And I am a living testament that those resources work, because there were so many times where I thought I just couldn't get through another day. I couldn't do it anymore. Um, Unfortunately, those thoughts come along with the traumas like I've been through. So when I see people victim blaming or questioning a victim, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, but Leslie is a prime example. What happened with her and Ernie, that situation has always bothered me, because no matter if our opinion is, and I'm not saying it's my opinion, because I 110% believe what she said happened to her. Even if there's something in us that makes us kind of question it, you never want to question that victim personally or verbalize the fact that you just don't believe them, because you are doing more damage than what was already done. Every victim takes the time they need, the time that they feel comfortable. People wait weeks to tell their story. People wait months. People wait years. I didn't tell my parents what happened to me the first time for a few years. I didn't tell my parents what happened to me the second time until my mom was laying in a hospital bed dying from cancer, because I felt ashamed. I felt less than. Even though I had been through therapy and I had started to get my inner strength back, I still felt like those were the last people in the world that I wanted to know what happened to me. Because I did blame myself for a while. I always second guessed and thought, well, if I just would have locked the door that day, it wouldn't have happened. But that kid had been to my house so many times. He went there on a mission that night, and he knew what he was going to do. Um Now there was cosmic justice, because a few years later he overdosed. So there's one less creep walking the planet. Um, I have forgiven both of the people who robbed me of something. I have forgiven my first husband for everything he put me through. But I'll be honest, I haven't gotten to a point of forgiveness for what I'm going through now. Um, I just haven't. There's a lot of resentment. There's a lot of hard feelings. It's a process, and I'm going through it, and I'm going to get through it. I'm a tough chick. I've sat back quiet, just kind of watching everything play out. If I used to go live as often as I could, being a full-time student. Um and I'm going to start going live again more. But it's like every time I get to a point where I think I have a topic to talk about, something pops off again. And I'm not going to place the blame on any one person. I know where a lot of it stems from, There's a lot of people in this community that feel like they're in danger, and nobody should feel that way. Nobody should ever have to worry about turning on YouTube one day and hearing their address or their personal information. Or people think that just giving a real name isn't a big deal, but it's a very big deal. It can be a very big deal to someone who has been in hiding from someone for years, because if someone wants to get to someone bad enough, we've all seen that they will dig up anything on you. And it's like the one person who is supposed to be fighting against stuff like that has actually gotten on YouTube and trained people how to dig up private information on people. Now, the kicker is he's done that almost immediately after saying, I'm going to teach you general awareness because there's over 4,500 active predators online daily. And then in the next breath, teaching, all of these complete strangers how to track someone down and dig up every dirty detail. Just because you're on YouTube, that does not mean that you have to share everything about your life. If someone doesn't want their identity known, so be it. They can't hurt me through a computer screen, but they can hurt me by digging up my private information and me saying something and inadvertently pissing them off, and then they're coming after me. I have children at home, 2 girls, an 18-year-old and a 9-year-old, and a lot of us have children at home of all different ages. And I think that hearing Carissa come on and speak this morning really put a lot into perspective for me, and it should have for a lot of other people too, because there were so many messages in what she said. My assumption is that was kind of a toxic relationship. They were young. Rap, if you hear this, I'm not downing you as a father. I just made this comment in another chat that we don't have to accept why it didn't work out with them. It didn't work out. She's okay with it. And we have to accept that. We have to be okay with that because it's none of our business. It really isn't. And using all of these things as weapons against each other when you don't really know the whole story. Um, there's the other situation about him being a woman beater. And, I'm just going to say it publicly because I haven't said anything for a while. There again, none of us know the entire story. I know here, when it comes to those situations, whoever has a mark on them is going to be the victim and the other party is going to be the aggressor. That doesn't mean it wasn't a mutual thing and you weren't beating the mess out of each other. It's just maybe one person got slapped or punched over a piece of clothing and they don't have any marks. When you don't know the whole story to everything, and what you read on a piece of paper is not the whole story. That's that one part of that story that's dealing with that one person that was recorded, whether it be by the police, whether it be in the courts. That's just one side of it. There's always 3 sides to every story. Your side, my side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. At what point do we just accept what is and move on? When do we stop saving everything in our back pocket when it's convenient to use against someone? I've had people email me or message me and ask me questions about how I felt about Jimbo's situation. And Jimbo, I know you're in here and I know I've told you about it. Now we have another situation that we can compare it to. Okay, yes, Jimbo was 17 and married a 12-year-old. Those parents consented to that, and it was 30 something years ago. It's time to let that go. Now, if you want to look at the situation we compare it to, and this is nothing, I'm not even going to mention her by name, but there was another person whose father had something happen. That was 30 something years ago. So, who decides which one we accept and which one we don't? If Jimbo understands that it was a mistake, like he didn't think it was a mistake at a time, he stated he was in love with this girl, he loved her, whatever happened with, and people saying that they don't believe that this girl lied about her age, it is quite possible that she did, because when I was in middle school, there was girls lying about their ages all the time. There were girls who were freshmen who were going out with seniors. I mean, it happens. It happens. But that's in the past. There's no proof of him ever doing anything else with any other children. There's no record of him being, a creepy perv. I fully believe that he's a substitute teacher. I fully believe that he loves coaching basketball because it comes from the heart. Basketball was his passion. He wants to pass that on to children. And I tell you one thing, I thank my lucky stars that my kids have had some amazing coaches. They have, done wonders for my kids. It would be a neurotic life if I had to quit, and I am very well aware that things like that happen, but I can't go around questioning every adult that comes into my child's life. It's just asinine. It's like, when can we just let stuff go and just accept it for what it is? Do I think that Jimbo is active online seeking out young people? No, I don't. And I don't think that any child in his house is in any danger. That's my opinion. Do I think that the other person I was speaking of is a bad person because of what happened with her father? No, I don't. That didn't concern her. It wasn't her fault. I'll never blame her for that. But why is it okay to just let that slide because it was 30 years ago, but still be on Jimbo for something that happened in his life 30 years ago? It just doesn't make sense to me. And what I see is a community of people who already have things in their life. Life is stressful enough as it is. We come to YouTube, and I heard someone say today, a lot of people don't have family or friends or, a circle in their community. So they rely on YouTube to come, and people are bedridden. They can't leave their house, and so they rely on YouTube to be able to log on and have a good time and have a few laughs. YouTube should never be a place where you have chats full of people saying that they have to take a mental break. When you have that many people saying, this is too much for me, I need a mental break, I can't handle this anymore, this is making me so sad, then we're not doing something right. We're not. And we as creators have a responsibility. If we're going to get up there and lead a chat full of people, then we need to lead them in the right direction. Women should never be tearing each other down or calling each other the names that I've heard friends of mine, people I care about, be called. That does make me sad. It makes me sad that this is the society we live in. And newsflash, whether you are a Christian or not a Christian, I fully believe that this world is coming to an end, and we were given an instruction manual, and it tells us everything that is going to happen, and the time is near. I mean, look at the world around us. You've got children turning on parents, you've got siblings turning on each other. You've got random strangers turning on each other for no apparent reason. And that's not to say that I am the best Christian in the world. I'm not. I fall short every single day. I have a potty mouth. I lose my temper. But Jesus didn't reach out to the perfect people. He reaches out to the broken people. And I'm not going to turn this into a preaching session. That's just what I believe. But now is the time more than ever where we need to be there for each other. We need to lift each other up. Yes, let the people you care about and the people who are close to you know when they made a mistake. If one of my friends treats someone poorly, or they treat me poorly, or I don't agree with something they're doing, I'm going to let them know, because what kind of friend would I be if I didn't? But there's a way that you can point out mistakes gently. And maybe I'm the one that's wrong in thinking that what they're doing is wrong. Have a conversation. We don't need to be going into these chats where it's just constant echo chambers. And what I mean by echo chambers, I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to use myself. When the big split from Benny happened, there was a lot of us who were trashed or, blacklisted, ignored, simply because we were a mod for Benny. I've never done anything wrong to anyone on YouTube. I don't have issues with people. I don't get in all this whatever everyone thinks is going on behind the scenes. Apparently, everyone thinks that if you're a creator, you spend every moment of your free time talking to other creators and plotting against people. I couldn't tell you what goes on behind the scenes. I have a very small handful of people that I talk to outside of YouTube. Most of my communication is done in chat rooms or in Discord for everyone there to see. I don't just, I'm not plotting against anyone. And I don't think that there are many people that are. But there was a lot of people who would love me one minute and were throwing hearts at me in chats, and, everything was great. But as soon as that split happened, I became a target along with so many other people. There was a time where, it was stated if someone didn't leave everyone alone, all the mods were going to be doxxed and exposed and whatever. I've made mistakes in my life. I'm not going to deny that. I know what the inside of a jail looks like. I know what the booking process is like. It wasn't for anything serious. But like I said before, I was on a path of self-destruction. Those were my mistakes, my life lessons, not anybody else's. And if I want to share that with people, I will. Other than that, it's nobody's business. Now, when you're out here running down the damn highway and you're making it everybody's business and you're begging for money in the process, yeah, that's a little bit different. I don't ask anybody for anything, and I've gone through some really tough times. I don't even have my monetization turned on right now. So you have to treat people with a little bit of grace and a little bit of respect, the same that you expect everyone to treat you with. That's the golden rule. Treat others as you would want to be treated. What is so hard about that? What is making it so difficult that we can't wrap our heads around that and just put it into action? I've seen so many people, and when people disappear because life on YouTube gets too tough, well, then they get talked about even more. Or when they take a break and they come back, they get talked about even more. It's insanity. It really is, because we have been repeating this same cycle for a year now. Where did it all go wrong? Do I have anything against the people who have done these vile things? No, personally, I do not. I have something against the actions. Hang on one second. I'm on a live stream. Okay, sorry about that. Um, it's not the person that I have the problem with, it's the actions, the behaviors, the treatment of people, the intentionally trying to hurt people with whatever tidbit of information you can dig up. There's things that I know about people's histories and backgrounds and stuff like that, but no one would ever know that I knew those things, and no one will ever know what I know because I'm not going to use that against anyone. Why is that? Because these people haven't done anything to me. Now, the day you come knocking on my door, showing up at my house, and I have some dirt on you, that'll be the day that I contact the appropriate authorities and say, look, this person has done this, and this is what they've done in the past. Not everything is for public consumption. I don't need to know what someone ate for dinner 3 weeks, 14 hours, and 32 minutes ago. I don't need to know what they did when they were 16 years old. If they're not out here hurting anyone right now, if they're not seeking out children to hurt, if they're not if they're not out here committing some serious crime, does it really matter? I don't think it does. That's just my opinion. I don't think that anyone needs more hardship piled on them. Life is hard enough as it is. Life is tough. And, I have one child who is about to graduate high school. My son graduated a couple of years ago, and the reality is setting in that all these friends that he had in high school, they're few and far between now. There's like 3 people he still talks to. That's just the way it is when you grow up and become adults. Circles get smaller. A lot of people don't have families. I'm basically an orphan. I don't have either of my parents. I don't have my grandparents. I have my children and my husband's family, which is very small. That's my people. I have my friends on YouTube. I heard a lot of people say nobody's your friend on YouTube. That's not true. I have made some amazing friends through YouTube. I love my little handful of girls. We're there for each other. I know that if they have a problem with me, they'll come and let me know. And the same with them. If I have a problem with them, I'll let them know. It doesn't have to be a group effort, though. So, I don't know. I just wanted to share a little bit about myself and let everyone know, how I got into true crime. Not all true crime creators are tragedy pimps. I haven't made a dime off any of the cases that I've covered. Um, and when I turn my monetization on, yeah, I'll make a little money when I want to turn it on for a particular stream. It may not be for every single one of them. There's a case on my channel, both channels, about Aaron Key. His mom is like family to me. I talk to her all the time. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I've had a relationship with her, and I don't just cover these cases like on a whim. I really dig deep, and I will put out facts, and that takes time. Now, there are true crime creators that are just in it for the money. They want the notoriety of it and the YouTube fame, but all that goes away. And when all that goes away, you're only left with yourself. So, can you live with yourself when all is said and done? I want to be the kind of person who can go to bed every night knowing that I did the best I could that day, that I treated people as well as I could that day. And the next day, I'll get up and try to do even better. We're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fall short. All of us will eventually hurt someone's feelings, whether intentionally or not. There's always going to be those bad days. We all fall. It's what you do when you pick yourself back up that matters most. In the long run, all this other crap is trivial and it's minimal. It just doesn't matter. I want to teach my children and be the example for them that they can pass along to their children. I want to know that I did it right. I did it well. I did it out of love. I did it out of caring. And I did it out of creating the best future for them and the people that they surround themselves with. Because the person you are in the inside does radiate to the outside, whether you want it to or not. You set the tone for what you do in life. You set the tone for every minute of your day. If you wake up and you're in a negative headspace as soon as you put your feet on the floor, that's how your day is going to go. You can try to make it better, but chances are good that you're going to have a very stressful day. I don't want to have those kind of days. Is that the real Izzy Pop in here saying fraud? My guess is it's not, because it's some creepy little doll. But that's really all I got, you guys. And I thank everyone for listening to me babble. I've missed everyone going live, and I will be going live more. I thought this was a good tipping off point. I know that Gator has had some friction with people. Um, and one day she was just like looking for direction on what to do with her channel. And, I said, hey, interview some creators. Let creators come on here and talk, and you get to know them and kind of introduce some new people to her channel. She's new to me. Um, I don't have any problems with her. Yes, Savannah, as soon as I get my laptop up, I will unblock you. I'm so sorry. I thought you had me blocked, but I guess it was the other way around. But yes, I will get that taken care of. Savannah Smiles has been with me since the beginning. So I'm quiet and you don't hear a lot out of me, but just know that I'm there and I am paying attention. Um, but yeah, if you aren't familiar with Gator's channel, I encourage everyone to, get to know people before you attack. Really spend some time. Don't just listen to the bad stuff, listen to the good stuff too. And sometimes you have to pick through the bad to get to the good, and that's okay too. Nobody has to make a snap decision. You don't have to just decide right away that you don't like someone because it's the cool thing to do. Be the example, be that leader. You Life would be so boring, and I have said this so many times on so many streams I've done. If we all thought and felt the same, life would be boring. It would be like eating white rice and drinking water every day for the rest of your life. Challenge other opinions. Have conversations. People have stopped having conversations and mulling ideas over and discussing things. It's just, I've seen people go into chats and say, do we not like this person anymore? Really? If you want to like that person. Be bold. Be different. Set the tone for something different. Set the tone for something good and be that positive person. Be the one that says, look, maybe we don't have to dislike this person, or maybe, yes, this person did something that we don't see as acceptable, but give them a chance to change, give them a chance to do better. So if anyone has any questions, I'm reading the chat. I wasn't really reading much when I was talking.
I think it was Never Silent asked about the accident, where and what year. I think
um, it was, let's see, it was 2 years ago in Blanchard, Louisiana. I can get the exact date and post it in the comments under this video. Um, yeah, it was tough. It was a tough time because we had just gotten him back and then he was gone again, and it was so weird because my mom, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 small cell cancer back in 2010. It was in September of 2010. And it was 3 weeks to the day that she was diagnosed that she passed away. So lots of weird things with threes going on. And then at exactly 3 weeks after my brother-in-law was killed, my dad passed away. He had COPD and he had complications from that. And so, yeah, lots of weird threes. Oh, thank you, Dutchie. I don't know how wise I am. I'm just a deep thinker. But thank you. Yeah, it was a lot to take on, Gator. And even with all of this stuff, even with everything that we've been seeing going on, and um, the people who have been treated poorly by others, get to a point of forgiveness for yourself. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to allow that person back in your life to hurt you again. Forgiveness means that you've reached a point of growth that you can wrap that up in a bow and store it away. You don't have to hang on to that anger and resentment. Exactly, Mamita. So many of us, we want to stand against wrong, but that's a hard thing to do. I get it. It's hard to speak out against people. Nobody should say, I want to chat in here, but I'm afraid to. Nobody should ever say that. So, does anyone have any more questions for me? If not, thank you for having me, Gator. I'm going to hop off here. My dog's going nuts and people are getting hungry. So, but I appreciate you giving me the time and the platform to speak and let some new people get to know me. I know a lot of people see me in chats. A lot of people don't even know that I'm a creator because I've been silent so long.
Well, I don't know if you know, but we did go ahead and drop both of your links for both of
Well,
your
thank
channels.
you.
And I do appreciate you coming up here and telling us your story and your opinion on everything that's going on. Um, I hope everyone subscribes to all the links that were dropped.
If you want to donate, donate. If you don't. No, I'm just kidding.
I didn't even have my Cash App thing up the whole time because I just wanted it to be focused on you.
Yeah. No, nobody has to donate to me. If you want to donate, find a good domestic violence organization, or RAINN, RAINN is always a good one. Instead of giving me dollars, give dollars to them. That would make me all warm and fuzzy inside. So
Thank
I will see all of you around, and thanks again. And everyone have an amazing evening.
Thanks, Chasing. I'll speak to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for being respectful and listening to her story. Um, it was very heartbreaking. It's a lot for her to go through. And she's also on top of what she's told you, still going through more stuff. So, um, again, I appreciate all of you for coming in. And also, if you watch the replay, I appreciate you watching the replay. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. It's been exactly 1 hour, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Again, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.